Hygiene is the first place that marketers should be looking, and us as direct mail providers should be looking to help offset those costs. Bad addresses, duplicate mail, sending more than one piece of mail to the same household, that is wasteful and it's very, very expensive. So any opportunity you have to do the data hygiene opportunity up front is going to leverage and mean significant savings for your customers. Second is the print and insertion production. So what looks like 2 steps is actually only 1. Using the envelope size that the USPS can most optimally mail and machines for automatically inserting the mail into the envelope is going to mean significant savings opportunities. Next, you have pre-sort. So grouping mail in the same bundle by zip code and putting that into things such as walk sequence, that reduces the burden on the USPS, and so that also means significant postage savings as well. That takes us to IMB, so intelligent mail barcodes. This is technology that's using 65 digits or so, the longer zip codes, to create the end-to-end mail tracking. So the opportunity for this is, again, you're taking that burden off of the USPS in terms of putting the order together of how the mail is going to be delivered. But from a marketer's perspective, it also offers a key opportunity in terms of being able to do pre-tracking and post-tracking of when that mail is delivered, so you can then determine what your next sequence of your marketing campaign is going to be. So that's an added benefit there. Commingling, which we're going to be speaking a lot about, is, and while contrary to what a lot of people think, commingling doesn't necessarily add time. It may be a little bit more work up front, but when you do that work up front, that can actually mean fewer days in the postage stream and quicker getting into the household itself. And finally, we're going to be talking about leveraging the technology in the postal promotions, and this is where I'm going to start bringing in our panelists. We are going to start with Jeff, who is going to be talking to us about the ways in which the USPS is trying to help offset postage increases, as well as some of the promotions, the incentives that they're using to help create more innovation in mail itself.
Thanks, Gina. Can everyone hear me? Great. So we hope you mail more, but what we really hope is that you mail more effectively. And that's what we're looking for in the mailing promotions. What these are intended to do, and if you look at the calendar that's up on the screen, we're through several of the promotions. We're through 3 of the 6 promotions right now. We still have opportunities for you to participate in 3 of the remaining promotions. What we try to do is spread across the year opportunities for first-class mailers, for marketing mailers, and then we have certain promotions that apply to both first-class and marketing mailers. And we try to allow opportunities to leverage these promotions throughout the year. 5 of the 6 promotions are a 2% upfront discount on those mailings that qualify under the promotional requirements. What they're intended to do is help you offset some of the costs of developing or investing in new technologies that help you be more dynamic, for example. So a lot of these promotions are focusing on how dynamic and personalized can you get with the individual mail piece. So yes, there's a significant amount of expense in getting that message into that individual's home, but if you get the right message with the right information on it that's interesting to the recipient, then that makes that return on investment very powerful, even though the expense is large for mailing. So I'll go through each one of these promotions individually. In general, things like the tactile, sensory, and interactive promotion is about print treatments or interactivity or folds or the way in which you produce that mailing that makes it more engaging for the recipient. On some of the technology-based promotions like mobile shopping and informed delivery and emerging and advanced technology, those are really about how dynamic can the codes be on the pieces, or how dynamic can the piece be in order to increase the engagement that the recipient experiences when they get that mail piece in their home. So things like image scan or a QR code, things like that are what we're operating under for those promotions. Let's go to the next slide. So the first promotion I'm going to discuss is the tactile, sensory, and interactive promotion. So if you're talking about creating a raised surface on a mail piece or a certain type of soft touch or coating that just helps that mail stand out in the mailbox. So we all have our mail moment where we go through our mail at home. What we're looking for in the tactile, sensory, and interactive promotion are things that help that mail piece stand out from the rest of the mail. So is it a certain texture that's produced on the mail piece that just when someone picks it up in their mail and they touch it, it makes them kind of look twice at that mail. The second is the emerging and advanced technology promotion, and this is where we're encouraging mailers to integrate things like enhanced AR, augmented reality, to kind of lengthen the experience. So once you receive that mail piece in the mail, you're experiencing more, maybe an interactive shopping experience or something that takes you from that printed piece to a technology experience that makes it even more engaging for the recipient. So that's our emerging and advanced technology promotion. Another big one in the emerging and advanced technology promotion that I know many of you are taking advantage of is this concept of digital to direct. So sensing activity of a consumer online, taking those signals that we get through social or through online activity, and dynamically turning it into a mail piece that then arrives in their mail. So for example, if they abandon a cart, you initiate a physical mail piece through dynamic print and mail that then comes to their home in the next few days that reminds them that they left that item in their cart. So those kinds of integrated campaigns where we're taking it from print to digital or from digital to print are really powerful ways to increase that integrated campaign, and that's really what the emerging and advanced technology promotion is all about. Let's step back, Gina, just for one second. The earned value promotion, that's a little bit different. That's kind of our loyalty promotion program. We're trying to encourage mailers to keep that physical reply piece in their mail. It's a first class only promotion. What you do is you earn credits during the promotion period that then you can apply to any mailing throughout the year. I think it's 3 cents per piece this year, maybe slightly different next year. I'll also mention that these 6 promotions are probably what we're going to have next year. It has to be approved by the Board of Governors of the Postal Service and the Postal Regulatory Commission, but we try to pitch a very similar basket of promotions that extend throughout the year so you all have continued access to these types of promotions. We may change the requirements a little bit to keep enhancing the technology, but in general, we'll be able to produce these each year and make them available to you. Next slide, thanks, Gina. Personalized and color trans promos. This gets right at your ability to dynamically print and personalize pieces. And what we're trying to encourage in the personalized trans promo promotion is how do we enhance things like statement mailers to make them more of a customer-friendly and engaging experience for the recipient, make it more of a marketing opportunity for you. What we found in our studies is that people spend a lot of time with statement mail. They tend to open at a very high rate, so they're interested when those come. They tend to look at them. They tend to look at them for longer. So it's a great opportunity if you have that dynamic and color print capabilities within your facilities to be able to leverage that to make it even more customized for the recipient, makes it even more engaging for them as the recipient. Mobile shopping is around the holiday season. It's active right now. It's all about triggering that shopping experience and getting people to buy. We focus in mobile shopping on something that then eventually goes in the mail, like a product or at least a thank you note. So there's some requirements around mobile shopping, but it's really about connecting technology off the printed piece to close that sale, to close that shopping experience. And then informed delivery. This is a new promotion this year. In 2017, we had it as part of mobile shopping, but informed delivery, if you're not aware of it, it's a platform where you can automatically generate an email or an image in a consumer's account of the physical mail that you've mailed out. So it's a free option. The Postal Service doesn't charge for it, but it allows you to create a multi-channel campaign automatically off of the physical mail that you put in the mail. And the open rates are really high for these emails that people get in their inbox every morning. If you don't have informed delivery, you can go sign up for it on the USPS.com website. It just gives you a preview every day, a digital preview of the mail that's coming to you that day and packages that are coming to you that day. And we allow business mailers to go ahead and enhance those campaigns with something we call a ride-along image, so you can actually make clickable those preview images of your mail. We've got a promotion for it this year, so there's been a lot of activity around people getting up to speed on how they do informed delivery campaigns, how it works with the physical mail, and how they can also get a little bit of a discount in order to invest in those additional steps they have to take to make that happen. So those are the 6 promotions we have. Again, the primary purpose for the promotions is to increase the response rate for the mail that you're sending already. So really what we're trying to do with these promotions is help you boost the response rate for your clients that are mailing. It's really all about the mail channel, and it's an opportunity to save some money, and we know that as you're investing in new technology and you're making your processes better and better and better for your clients, that we want to be part of that. We want to be part of that advanced technology movement. We want to be a partner with you as you make investments in these new technologies. So that's it for the mailing promotions and incentives.
Perfect, Jeff,
Thanks,
thank
Gina.
you. So tell us, how heavily are the incentives used? And another one for you, are you seeing, what are you seeing from a year-over-year increase in the usage of the promotions?
So there's 2 interesting things that happen as we look at the folks that participate in promotions. Every year we evaluate the promotional audience, the people who participate in promotions, and these are thousands of mailers and brands that participate in the promotions each year. We look at, okay, the repeat participants, those that have participated in the promotions before, are they consistently producing at a higher level than the rest of the mailing community? And we always evaluate that, and the answer is always yes, that actually that the folks who are participating in the mailing promotions tend to be the ones who are also businesses that are actually growing. So we look at that every year for repeat participants. We also look at the new participants, the people who are brand new to the promotions, and what do these company profiles look like, and how. And then as we go on, we're going to look at, are they repeat participants and are they continuing to grow? So we look at those every year. And then we also look at the folks who have dropped out of the promotions, and why have they dropped out, and why are they choosing not to use them anymore, and what are the choices they're making there. And those tend to be the group of mailers that are actually below the trends that we're seeing in marketing through the mail. So we tend to see that they do support growth in the community. There's tens of millions of dollars every year that go out as part of these promotional incentives. So there is money to be saved as well that you can reinvest into new technology. So we see really positives around them. We're, internally we have a board, just like most of you have a board at your company, and they're evaluating if these are something they want to continue to offer every year. So I can't guarantee they'll be around next year. But I can tell you that PMG down, everybody supports that these are a positive thing for the mailing industry. They're a positive thing for direct mail and marketing. So we've just seen a lot of positive response from folks as they participate.
Perfect, thank you. So I know from our perspective at SG360, we're constantly working with our customers on opportunities to leverage these promotion incentives. For the group that we have here today, what recommendations do you have about communicating these opportunities to their customer base?
So every one of these mailing promotions involve a collaboration between the folks who are printing the pieces, the folks who are designing the pieces, and the folks who are putting the pieces into the mail. So we usually publish these promotional requirements at the beginning of the year. So once we get approval, and it typically happens, at the beginning of each calendar year, we'll immediately try to bring out the requirements around what we're looking for in these promotions. I encourage you to just review those requirements, ask us questions. We have a promotional email inbox for every one of these promotions. You can ask right to the promotions manager questions about the requirements. Get those answered, and once you have an understanding of that, then somebody's got to be the quarterback in these interactions. Typically, it comes down to usually the person who's putting the stuff in the mail, because that's where the discount gets applied. But it really is a partnership between the folks who are printing the pieces, the folks who are producing the mail pieces, and the folks who are really designing the whole thing from the get-go. Oftentimes, the technology teams have involvement because whatever technology is triggered off of quite a few of these promotions, you really have to have them on board in order to initiate something like an augmented reality experience or or a shopping experience, they really need to be involved in the process. So I think you got to get that kind of core team together to say, hey, we're going to go after these promotions. We already are doing some of these things. We could just do a couple more things to make it happen, and just get started early.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, so now we're kind of turn the gears a little bit here. We're going to hear from two of your peers about what they're doing in terms of their organization's operations to help from a postage optimization standpoint. First, we're going to start with Shelly with Print Mail Pro. Shelly, can you start off by telling us a little bit about Print Mail Pro?
Sure. First of all, bear with me. I do have a bit of a cold, but hopefully you can understand everything I say. But we're a full-service commercial printing company in Texas with facilities in both Dallas and Austin. We are a family business. My brother and I are partners. We're the two principals, and yes, we are still on speaking terms. A lot of people ask me that, but it's a good partnership. We currently have about 65 employees, and between the two facilities, we encompass 80,000 square feet of climate-controlled office and warehouse space. Our clients span a variety of industries, from nonprofit organizations, law firms, automotive marketing agencies, collection agencies as well, and local and state governments. And we are HUB certified in the state of Texas.
Perfect. Shelly, real quick, can you tell us what HUB certified means?
Sure. HUB stands for Historically Underutilized Business, and the state has a certification program for minority and women-owned businesses to get that designation.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Shelly, okay, moving along, can you tell us what mail volume do you process every year, and what services do your customers expect?
Yeah, so we mail over 40 million pieces annually. About 60% of that is first class, because we do handle both direct mail marketing and statement processing. 40% is marketing mail, a little bit, very small percentage, periodicals and packages. So we do cover all the bases with cutting, folding, inserting, spot gluing, inkjet addressing, pressure seal forms, some booklet making, and some fulfillment as well. But we do like to go, beyond that and get in on the front end side with mailing list rental, CAS NCOA services, all of the list management, postal optimization, drop ship analysis, and we also offer graphic design, because I think getting in on the design and offering the whole turnkey service is important to our clients.
Perfect, thank you. And tell us, what steps are you taking to streamline operations and efficiencies?
Well, starting with the USPS tools, we have adopted full service automation. So I think it's been like 3 years that we've been 95% or better full service intelligent mail barcodes on everything that we produce. We also, in this past year, went to seamless acceptance. So that really saves a lot of time in the verification process. We use e-induction, so we upload all of our postage documentation and postage statements electronically, no more paper postage statements. And that allows that's part of the seamless process as well, so that once we upload that, then we just take the mail to the business mail entry unit and leave it, and we don't have to wait for it to be verified. We also have found benefits using Mail Anywhere, which is an authorization that the Postal Service offers. So we have clients, a lot of our clients are local, they're in Texas, but not all of them. So we have clients all over the country, and for example, one of our clients in California, they have their permit there in California, and they load the postage funds there. So their mail piece uses their permit, but we drop it in Dallas, and the funds are able to be debited out of their account in California. Then on the operational side, we have gone to inkjet web printing. We added a Canon Color Stream 3700 in our Dallas location. So white paper in has cut a lot of print production time. It has reduced the waste of pre-printed forms and increased postage savings for clients. So one particular customer that we have had 4 or 5 different forms that they used regularly, and in each of those streams we would laser overprint black variable onto those, and each of those streams had to be kept separately and mailed separately. So when we were able to convert them to the inkjet, those forms changed digitally as we print on white paper, and it's all merged together in the postal qualification process and mailed together. So they've saved some money there on postage. We also added a piece of technology. We had a particular application that this, a customer that was using, doing like an imitation style mailing. So it was a closed face envelope that needed to match to the inside piece. We added an automated read and inkjet print system, and this helped consolidate several processes into one. So we're able to print a 2D barcode on the mail piece, and as it's being inserted, that barcode is read, the address is sprayed on the outside of the envelope, and it even gets a stamp in the same, all in one pass. We also, my operations people love the mail.dat editor because it just allows us to easily break mailings into partial drops if we need to, and adjust postage statements after the processing, because you know that postal qualification, drop ship analysis, everything's done at the very beginning before it's gone through production, and sometimes things happen, and you need to be able to make adjustments on the back end before you send that postage statement to the post office.
Perfect, thank you. So then, Shelley, tell us, for your customers, what are the biggest benefits of these investments?
Well, we try to, and I mean, you touched on it in the beginning, postage is the biggest expense of what, you know, of these mailings that we're producing for our clients. What we charge them, I wish we charged them what the post office charges them, that would be nice, but what we charge them is much smaller in comparison. So we try to run all of the list maintenance and hygiene on the front end with CAS and NCOA and postal qualification, and add those intelligent mail barcodes, as I mentioned, prior to mailing, and achieve the lowest postage rate that we can for them. Dropship analysis, I've mentioned a couple of times. For marketing mailings, you know, can realize some significant savings if you have enough mail going to a destination facility. So we always, for the larger mailings, we run that analysis and see if we can save some money there for the clients. And we utilize a commingling pre-sort vendor for mail that doesn't qualify for pre-sort on its own, either because it's just not enough volume on its own, or sometimes there are things about the way the customer gave it to us that we can't quite manipulate it the way we need to, but we can send it to our commingling partner to get those discounts.
Okay, thank you. And tell us, how do you position yourself in the market?
Well, we're not a mom and pop shop, and we're not a huge company either, so we like to say that we're a mid-sized commercial printer that's large enough to handle large mailings, large print runs, even into the millions, but small enough to give that personal attention that we know our customers expect. And we do that by building a partnership with our clients. So we strive to provide the highest level of customer service. We think it's very important to consistently meet our commitments. And the big thing, I think, is being those the mailing experts for the clients, taking the hassle out of the constantly changing postal regulations, because they're constant. Or what did he say yesterday? Change is the great constant. Mm-hmm. So, and it does, it changes at a rapid pace. So keeping up with that for our clients so that they don't have to is a good value add.
Wonderful. And then finally, with all the dynamics taking place in the market, what challenges do you foresee?
Well, for us, you know, there's always challenges, and as soon as you tackle one set, there's another set waiting for you. But we are continuing to try to automate processes and reduce steps into fewer steps. Staying ahead of technology is a big one, and updating and refreshing equipment. We have a lot of aging equipment that we are evaluating. It's hard to balance that acquisition cost with the return, and that's something that we're working on right now.
And before we turn it over to Mike, what recommendations do you have for your colleagues in the room?
Well, I came up with a few. Maximize the use of data. If you've got the raw data, use it. I mean, there's ways to create efficiency even in production, not just on the postage saving side. For example, one of our nonprofit clients gave us like 3 versions of a mailer and 3 separate lists, one for each version. And I mean, you could have easily just create each template for each one and run each list, and it would be 3 separate mailings. But it benefited the client on the postage side, but also benefited production for us to create one template where the versions changed based on whatever indicator was in the list, merge those 3 lists together, and run it all as one project. So, and secondly, if you haven't gone full service, consider taking that step. There's benefit in postage savings because there is still a discount for full service automation IMBs, and there's some other benefits. I think not having to pay your permit fee and being able to do seamless acceptance and mail anywhere, and then also consider seamless acceptance. It was kind of a scary thing before we got into it, but it's worked out well. You can run parallel in the beginning. You don't have to jump right into it with assessments. During the parallel period, you can monitor your scorecard and make sure everything's going okay without any penalties or assessments before you go completely seamless. And then finally, depending on the mix of work, evaluate a web solution for print. We've been very pleased with going to roll inkjet printing, white paper in our operation. So,
wonderful, thank you. So a quick note, we will be leaving time for Q&A at the end. So if you have any questions, just do me a favor and hold on to those for a few more minutes. And with that, I would like to introduce Mike Butita, who is the Director of Postal Affairs at SG360. Mike, let's have you start by telling us a little bit about SG360 and your role there.
Sure. SG360 is a multifaceted direct mail producer. We've got commercial, inline web, sheet fed, digital, finishing, marketing, mailing, co-mingling, co-pal, and logistics. The company was founded in Chicago, one facility back in 1956, and we've been on an expansion path all the way through the years. We're up to 6 facilities with over 700 employees right now. We're mailing and printing over 2 billion pieces a year. And as for me, I like to refer to myself as the resident postologist. So I pretty much handle all things mail, from postal compliance, authorizations, programs, initiatives. I'm the postal interface and also act as a customer's second set of eyes.
Perfect, Mike, thank you. So would you give us some background on SG360's overall operations?
Yeah, we mail right now about 168 million pieces monthly. Again, it's over 2 billion pieces annually. And we have a variety of different services. Everything starts with data. Data is kind of our engine for the company. So they work in concert with all our services with an intense focus on postal optimization. So we go through the process of qualifying everything we can at the lowest postage rates with consideration to entry points. So a lot of times, if you're having your data done by third-party agencies, it's easy to qualify mail, say, to SCF level, but when you go to enter that mail in the post office, you can find that you're overriding a lot of that discount because you're going to entry point that isn't efficient. So all that has to be coordinated up front and then tied into analysis to see what's available to reduce postage by non-traditional methods such as co-mingling and co-palletization. We pretty much operate in a campus-like environment. And so everything is tied together.
Perfect. So obviously we're here today to talk about postage optimization. Can you tell us a little bit more about some of the strategies that you have in place? You touched on co-mingling, co-pal, et cetera, a few moments ago, but can you give us a little bit more?
Sure. It all starts again with data. Practicing data hygiene, making sure that your list is accurate and up to date. The Postal Service deals with actually 12% of the population moves every year. So they're handling about 6 billion pieces of UAA or undeliverables address mail at a cost of about $1.2 billion. So they're making a sincere effort to take bad address mail out of the system. So again, you want your piece to get to your customer first time around. You don't want to miss a sales opportunity. So it starts with your data. We use same thing as my colleague here with NCOA CAS certification. And we also use some proprietary software. Mail.dat consolidations gives us an additional postage benefit. We also have a trigger to identify the probability of hitting carrier out rates. These are actually very low rates that are hard to achieve in letter unless you have a large volume. We look at anywhere between 4 and 5 million as the trigger. And the savings there on average could be as much as 5.3 cents per piece. So that's something we put into our system to see if there's any advantage in that. And then, again, last we look at co-mingling. This is where the tail wags the dog. Co-mingling has a great benefit as you get savings by the piece, per piece. Co-pal, which is another way to save postage, gives you postage savings at the pallet or tray level. Two good areas to save additional money. And then one of the most important things is format design. You know, I always tell our customers, you know, put your mail pieces on a diet. You know, design for letter size postage first, because letter size postage is always less than flat size postage. So we also, which is very important, is making sure that we're marrying press efficiencies with postage efficiencies so we complete the package.
Perfect, thank you, Mike. So can you tell us a little bit more about some of the investments that have been made relative to optimizing postal services?
Sure. All our investments, you know, migrate towards automation and reducing labor-intensive operation, and ultimately reducing costs. Our latest or most recent investment was about $4 million in our co-mingle logistics operation. Now, you know, we just didn't add capacity. This was a very thoughtful investment where we put in a lot of automation to reduce labor. We put in what we call pallet creators and smart conveyors, and even got into robotics with robotic tray sleeving equipment. Now the conveyors and the pallet creators saved us 15 workers, staff of 15, for 2 shifts. The robotic tray sleevers and mail trays always have to be slaved without any manual intervention. Sleeves 750 trays per hour, reduced three people per shift. So those investments are really paying off. Also, too, the investment in automation improves accuracy. You know, mail service providers are judged on the postal scorecard, so we have to maintain integrity of our mail prep. Otherwise, we get hit with some pretty high liabilities. We're writing a check to a post office, and you know, it could be hundreds of thousands of dollars. So, in addition to just saving labor, we're improving the accuracy to minimize any you know, wrong trays on wrong pallets, mail going to wrong destinations, you know, duplicate IMBs in mail, all that.
Great, thanks, Mike. So with these investments, how are you and SG360 educating and informing customers on these opportunities that exist for them?
Well, first of all, Gina, we have an outstanding marketing department. But
I did not pay him to say that, I promise.
Other than that, we communicate our value proposition. That's number one. You know, it's more control, less touches, higher security, greater efficiencies, and better postage savings. That's what it equates to. So we're constantly educating them on that. We do it through a series of what we call SG360 universities, where we have our customers come in small groups, and they get this interactive experience going through all our services and practices, seeing everything in operation, and then listening to the people who actually control, manage, and operate those processes, so they get a full understanding of what we could do and how it integrates with their programs.
Perfect, thank you. So with all of this, what challenges do you see coming up ahead?
Well, lately it's been cycle time reduction. You know, customers with this, you know, need to have it now market. You know, everybody's looking to condense and squeeze their timelines. And so that's our biggest challenge right now. And we believe that the investments in automation and reducing, you know, manual labor is going to ultimately not only save cost, but give us the ability to, you know, reduce the cycle time on jobs. You know, again, the robotics and the integrated smart conveyor systems, I could just go back to that pallet creator. You know, all the stuff is, you know, run by very robust software programs, and we've developed software that allows us to take our smart conveyors with our pallet creators and switch to co-pal on the fly or change postal entry points. So it's, you know, helps us reduce costs, make sure we're entering mail in the right facilities, and again, with the addition of co-pals all integrated into one system.
Wonderful, thank you. So tell us, what recommendations do you have for your peers here today?
Well, listen to your customers, try not to be rinse and repeat, evaluate every project and every program for either cost avoidance or service level enhancements. Think outside the box. We have a very strong structural design department that designs pieces that work on press, but we also do reformatting. So an example I can give you is we had a large tobacco company come to us with something that they wanted designed as a parcel. We reformatted it into an automated flat. The savings was $450,000 in postage just for that one program. So there's ways to look at formats, make sure you're, again, marrying it with what you can do on press, and then see if you can reformat for lower postage. Also, too, I can't stress this enough, engage with the USPS, especially at high levels like Jeff here. They love to hear ideas, especially to keep mail relevant and growing. And they'll respond to that. They will not wave you off. They'll give you an audience, and if it's something doable, you'll have a good shot at getting that thing working.
Perfect. Mike, thank you. So, real quick summary of what we've heard here today. We know that postage costs are going to continue to rise. And the risk of this is the fact that marketers are going to look for ways to offset that cost, either through reduced circulation, through limiting programs, what have you. And so this makes it critical as a mail provider to be educated on the postal optimization opportunities and to educate your customers on the opportunities that your organization can provide to help them save those costs. Marketers are going to continue to focus on channels where they can maximize their marketing investments. Direct mail is continuing to have a stronger opportunity, even in a digital-first world. And so being able to help show them how you can maximize their direct mail spend so they can continue to keep that opportunity and grow the direct mail opportunity is going to be critical. And that means taking the lead. Master the complexities of achieving postage savings. It's, as we've heard from Shelley and from Mike, there's many, many, many different ways that this can be done. And there is, the technology is continuing to expand from there. So make sure that you have an understanding of what those opportunities are. Investing in the right technology and processes is critical, and optimizing the efficiency of your operation goes hand in hand with that. As we heard from Jeff, the postal discounts, leveraging those postal discounts is going to be key. As Jeff had said, seeing the year-over-year growth on that is also a very popular opportunity. I know for myself, when I'm speaking to marketers who've never used direct mail, this is a key opportunity to show them, to get them in, to get them testing what direct mail can do for them, is being able to leverage these discounts. So we find a lot of value in this as well. And then finally, it'll help both you and your customers make and save money. So postal optimization, it's a key strategy to undertake as an organization, and doing so with your customers is going to help make sure that your business continues to grow. So with that said, we would like to go ahead and open it up for questions. Sir.
We started actually last October with that, so it's relatively new for us, but the payoff was immediate.
So it's going well?
Yes, it is. I mean, the startup was a little dicey, I got to tell you. The company we purchased that equipment from is the same robots that load and unload nuclear warheads off of subs, but in the beginning I wouldn't be too sure I wanted to be by the naval yard when they were doing that, but after all the kinks worked out, it's paying back. Yeah.
So that really kind of...
They're on a couple generations from that machine, and we've seen that one. But now the machine a robotic arm can detect if a tray is too beat up, it actually just drops it, and it'll retrieve another sleeve.
Joe?
Question for Jeff. You mentioned during your presentation that companies participating in the USPS programs are growing. Can you just share a little bit about the metrics you use to make that statement?
So it's a little tricky because because there's typically the brand or the client. Then there might be a number of service providers involved in that. So we try to go all the way down to the customer registration ID. So on the mailing statements, there's this thing called by for. So if you're a service provider, you can represent who the client is on the statement. So we try to track back to that. It's not always successful, so we try to get as close to the mail owner as possible. And then we, because there's pretty stringent requirements on how that reporting gets produced within the postage statement creation process, we can just peel that information off and then pull it in. We know when the incentive is claimed. You can't claim more than one incentive on a mailing at one time. Earned Value's got a little bit of an exception to that, but of the 2% upfront promotion discounts, you can't claim more than one on the same mailing, for example. So if you had 3 technologies and the promotions happen to all happen at the same time, you can't claim 6% off. You can only claim the primary one that you choose. Most of the time we feel like the mailers are gravitating toward the one that's right for them. So normally they choose the promotional discount that makes the most sense for them. There are some times where we see a lot of mailers that'll apply either multiple technologies or treatments within a promotion when only one's really required, but they get the response rate they want out of using multiple techniques, for example, or treatments or technologies in the mailing. They only have to qualify for one, but they use multiple. So we do a little bit of tracking about what specific technology within the promotions folks are using. So in emerging and advanced technology, for example, enhanced augmented reality is probably the #1 technology used within that. But we're seeing some of the other technologies, pop out of there that are more interesting. For mobile, we're seeing a lot more customers move toward image recognition. So a lot of times you can have a catalog, for example, where you can actually just scan the image, and if you have an app on your phone, it takes you right to your shopping cart, for example. So there's some technologies that take people right from the printed piece to the purchase, which are really, that's the point we're trying to go for. It's not just going to a page on a website where you can shop. It's more than that. But we measure those metrics. So we're about mid-year right now, mid-calendar year on evaluating the promotions. As soon as a promotion period closes, we start evaluating that promotion. So because the promotions go all the way till the end of the calendar year, we probably won't wrap up all those evaluations until January of next year. But we're trying to do it as the promotions move, because right now we're thinking about the technologies that are going to go into next year's promotions, and we have to get those approved at the end of this calendar year before we move into next calendar year. Did that answer your question? No, yeah, say your question again. And
I'll restate it far simpler.
Okay.
It's my fault, I'm sure. So what can I tell my customer based on information you have that substantiates that if they participate in these programs, they will grow?
All right, so from the client perspective, so when the clients respond to our surveys about the promotions, they overwhelmingly say that they increase their response rates. So what we like to encourage mailers and service providers to do is to find a way to measure the metrics of the overall performance of the campaigns related to the promotions. That, of course, is very tricky in an integrated marketing environment where you have multiple channels acting for the customer at the same time. But really, the promotions are all about allowing the customer to choose what channel is right for them.
But you have your own survey?
We have our own survey. So as
publish out for all of us?
I'm trying to think. I believe we publish the aggregate results every year, and I can confirm that. We are internally we need those evaluations every year in order to substantiate further your promotions. As a requirement of participating in the promotion, you're asked to respond to that survey. We used to, before I was part of the group, we used to do a single survey at the end of the promotion. we realized that was not the best way to get people to respond. So actually now we have a staged survey throughout the promotional period. So as customers participate in one form of the, they get their pre-authorization, for example, then we hit them with a survey with just a couple of questions to respond to. In that way, we've bumped up the survey responses. And off the top of my head, I don't know what we're at right now. But last year, in the previous promotional period, we used mobile shopping as the test promotion for that. And the promotional response rates were probably 50% more. So it was very significant. So we're using that same technique this year on all the promotions. So if you were someone that participated in the earlier promotions in the year, you might have gotten a couple of surveys just related to a single promotion. We try to make sure those go to the right entity that can respond on things like response rate, especially for that final survey. Sometimes the service provider has to forward it on to the mailer in order to get the right answers. That's something we try to avoid, but if it works that way. But we do kind of a summary of the promotions, each promotion every year. And I believe are you a member of like a mailer technical advisory committee or anything like that? So the user group 8 is the promotions user group for Mailers Technical Advisory Committee. Sometimes that's published through the MTAC websites, but I believe it's published every year.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for clarifying your question. Sorry about that long-winded first answer.
Yep. So they are, as we hear, out of time. However, our members will be participating in the Ask the Experts session at 3 p.m. So if you have additional questions, definitely encourage you to attend so that we can make sure to get your questions answered. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
don't.
You all just leave
I've been
them
carrying around for an hour.
at the end of the session on the tables, and I'll grab them for you. You don't have to worry about bringing them back to me. I see some of you just kind of coming in last minute, so I'll run around and get a survey to you, but you can go ahead and get started.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Germán Sacristan. I'm not German, even though it's spelled German. I'm originally from Spain. And the G is a little bit of like clearing your throat, like, so that's the way it goes. And I'm here with Angela and Adam, which are two successful printers, commercial printers, and we are going to do a panel after a short presentation. The whole session is based on the road to profitability. So profitability, we're talking about cost and we're talking about pricing, right? That's how we do it, either reducing cost or increasing pricing, and both are relevant. What I want to share in this short presentation to kick it off is a study that we did. I'm from Key Point Intelligence, and we do market research, consultancy and training. And we did a research on crossover points, you know, offset versus digital based on cost. So when do you send this job to offset versus digital? And actually it's web offset and it's roll-fed digital. And that's pretty much what I'm going to share in like the next 7 minutes. And then I'll have some questions. I will moderate this session with Adam and Angela. Angela and Adam, ladies first. Thank you very much. Well, that's me, and I'll pass it quickly, and that's Angela and Adam. And these are the three topics. The main topic is the crossover points. I'll share a little bit about the inkjet evolution, where I think that we all have experienced that, or at least we've seen it, and wrap it up with some pricing models, and then we'll move to the panel. So the inkjet evolution, I'm sure that you've seen these documents many, many years ago. It was based on transactional stuff, right? Black and white, no very good color, 300 by 300s, a lot of limitations on the paper, and then we started adding a little bit of color, a lot of graphics, you know, and that type of thing, and this was the inkjet application in the old days, and we moved from that to all the high quality coded papers and all of that stuff, trans-promo, more marketing communications, direct mail, all the way to brochures, catalogs, books, magazines, etc., etc. So it's just been a big shift from what it was probably 15 years ago to what it is today. This study that we've done, it was done in March 2018. The panel, the profile of the customers that we survey or interview was they had to have a color roll-fed inkjet as well as offset web. And we did crossover points in 5 different applications, probably the most popular ones: catalogs, magazines, books, brochures, and direct mail. This was the specs of the jobs. Catalogs, magazines, whatever. Page count, 64 pages on catalogs. You can read it. I'll give you a couple of seconds. The ink coverage was that percentages. The paper was that, and the size, cut size and flat size was that. Right, so that was the study. And we measure hourly rates, budget hourly rates, and with both things, full color set and full heat set on web offset, and compared to digital inkjet web. And you can see the hourly rates, $335 an hour on the cold set, then a little bit higher, or much higher on the heat set, and then higher on the inkjet. Now, when you look at the made ready and all that, these customers that we survey, they have about half an hour for these jobs, and the digital only has like a minute. And that's why, obviously, the crossover points, you know, we are going to see what the crossover points are. So for catalogs, it was 1600 based on those specs that I shared before. And by the way, on the last slide, Canon has this study in a white paper shape, and you just can go and click on that thing and download it. So don't worry too much about getting the details. If you're really interested, you can download the whole white paper that Canon offered to share with you guys, and then you can read all the details. So 1600 was the crossover in catalogs. The same for the magazines for this sample size that we did, this survey, 1,800 for books, 5,000 for brochures, and 7,000 for postcards, mail postcards. Of course, when you analyzing a cost, depending if you are in the Midwest, in Iowa, in San Francisco, whatever, that's gonna affect your cost, et cetera, et cetera. So this really encourage and incentive everybody to analyze your cost and to see what your cost is. This is an average based on a sample size that we made, which is great, but it might be slightly different in your own business because you might have a slightly different cost to those customers that we survey. So the point is just to incentive you guys to do it so you know what is the best way, most cost-effective way or efficient way to send a job digital versus offset. So this is a little bit of the summary, like I said, all of that. But we talk about shifting volumes from offset to digital, and actually I think that depending on the source, there are different numbers, but we are still in the single digits percentage-wise of market share digital versus offset, so it's a lot of opportunity for digital. And shifting to digital is a more holistic and natural way, not just in print. The whole world is becoming digital, and the value is there. But my recommendation is not just about shifting volumes because of cost. When you shift something from A to B, you need to make sure that you take the advantage and the value of what B brings. So just shifting static jobs from offset to digital, you just making a good decision on cost, but you are not potentially grow as much as you could grow. Just take full advantage of that digital technology when you shift the jobs. Otherwise, I don't think that we are going to grow very much if we don't take that advantage as an opportunity. So it's just not about shifting jobs based on cost. I think that is taking the full potential of that. The full potential of that and the one single thing that digital differentiates from offset is the variable content. Yes, shorter runs, made ready, all of that, it does it, but there is one single thing that variable content offset cannot do. We did a research also, I think that it was in 2018, asking directly to the recipients of those marketing campaigns. The question was, which of the following factors are most likely to make you read this communication? And again, it's just been shared all over through all the sessions this morning. I heard a million times, but there's another one that supports that personalized and relevant content is what the readers and the recipients of your customers they want to read. And that makes a lot of sense. I think that everybody in this room, when we recipients, we want information that is helpful and informative. And if it's not helpful and informative, we don't want it. But we want helpful and informative. And by profiling and adjusting the copy of the message to yourself, then they increase the opportunity. And that's why everybody says this. And that's why marketeers, they keep talking about one-to-one interactions and personalization. At the same time, I don't know about you, but I'm a recipient of many campaigns that they are variable data printing, and I see a lot of opportunity for improvement, okay? Sometimes it's personalized, but it's not relevant or informative to me. So just because we personalizing, just because we can do variable data printing, doesn't guarantee success for your customer. It takes more than just changing a few names and a few images and a few contents in the document. So my recommendation to you is study the methodology and the theory of a good personalization. Then you'll be able to be more helpful to your customers when they actually create these campaigns, if they allow you to be helpful, because some of your customers might say, no, I'm the marketeer and I know everything and you know nothing. But if they allow you to do that, I think there is a lot of opportunity for improvement, because even though the marketeers, they think that they know a lot, not that they don't know, but there is no guarantees on a marketing campaign. Nobody knows if it's going to be successful or not before it's launched. So again, I encourage anybody, when you have the opportunity, to help on the strategy part, because it will be helpful, I think. And I leave it, and I start the panel with these pricing models. Everybody heard about them. We suffer with them. I'm sure that everybody wants to focus on the value, pricing model, how much you can justify based on value, right? And that's based on how different you are. Why should I choose you versus you, and you? What can you do for me that they can? And that's the value proposition. And we'll hear from Angela and Adam what makes them different to, how do they go for that value, if they go for that value, or if they don't go for that value, we'll hear about their pricing models on profit or market. So I'm going to introduce the white paper first. So if anybody wants the details of that study, this is the site. I'll give you a couple of minutes here to take a picture or to write it down. And without further whatever, I just want to introduce two successful business people with two successful companies, and first Angela and then Adam. And Angela, if you can introduce yourself first, that will be great.
Sure. Angela from Liberty Creative Solutions. We're out of Chicago. We've been in business 55 years now. So we've been growing. We've been in the mail industry, if you will, probably for the last 20 years. We started pretty basic, and we've worked our way up into integrating that through omni-channel, multiple channels, data mining, analytics, so on and so forth. We are a sheet-fed offset printer, digital toner devices, and then we just added the ProStream a few months ago. So we're just getting on board with that. So you'll see our companies between Adam and I are completely different, but we're kind of at the same end game. We do anything all the way through fulfillment and full house bindery and wide format as well. But the reason we got into the inkjet was the amount of jobs we had to get out in the least amount of time. Most of our turnarounds were 24 to 48 hours after receiving data. Shorter runs, so we were between anywhere from 2,000 to 50,000 in the mail. And we just couldn't do the offset shells and then the imprints on top of that. And then also some color variable that we had going on the toner devices. So our justification to go to inkjet and the ProStream was to gang all these jobs together, get them off the toner devices, and then also pull some off the offset devices to get them through inkjet. And it has worked very well at this point. So hopefully we'll get good enough where we're commingling on the ProStream, before we print and go from there. So that's kind of the story that we're at now.
And now, Adam?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Adam Lefevre. I'm the president and founder of SPC. We're also in the Chicago area. And as Angela said, two very different platforms. But at the heart of our platform today is really data-driven direct mail, relevant, personalized. But we do it across the entire spectrum of manufacturing. And that's probably what makes us most unique in the market. We have sheet-fed, we have half-web, we have full web, we have digital, we have sheet-fed digital, we have web digital, all with as creative and fancy finishing options as we can, along with a full letter shop that was built to replicate all the things that we just talked about and be able to do those in smaller quantities and larger quantities. By far and away, I would say that our sort of average customer is in the hundreds of thousands to millions space. So my perspective on a lot of this is different than the at-large print population because we're not addressing the market trying to figure out how to gang runs and how to be more efficient from that perspective. We waited to get into inkjet until ProStream came along, and we did that because we feel like we're a brand marketer, right? It's our job to take our clients' marketing communications, which are usually high-end retail, travel and hospitality, healthcare, financial institution, but to maintain their litho-like brand quality, but we want to give them a new opportunity to have better return on investment. And because we have that wide platform, none of it is about what's best for me when we approach a job. It's all about what's best for our marketers. How are they going to have better return on investment?
All right, thank you, Adam. So now I'm going to start with a set of questions, and like I said before, some of them they are going to be cost related, and other ones they are going to be price or value related, and probably the balance is going to be less cost related because there is more opportunity on the value to increase the price, even though it's really hard. But just managing the cost, it is what it is, and there's sometimes that you cannot reduce anymore, so you limit it there. But showing value probably is all about creativity and imagination, and we are going to hear what type of creativity and imagination we have here. So the first questions, they are related to cost, and I hear that some printers, they just understand their production cost, and they know obviously the price that they're selling that job to, and then the difference is the contribution, and they hope that contribution will pay for all the general cost of the business, sales, marketing, general administration, or whatever, and that type of thing. And other customers, they are looking into trying to understand all the cost within that job by print or by hour, including all the general costs. So what do you track? How do you track it, if you can share, and what are the challenges of that?
Go ahead.
We go by budgeted hourly rates for everything. So we do have, different cost centers. Obviously, toner is different than, the ProStream versus offset. We have to weigh those within our own shop. We know what we sold the job for, and it all depends on capacity. Or if we can gang a bunch of jobs up and get them on to the inkjet, obviously that's a savings across the board. The big thing, though, about moving stuff onto something like the ProStream is the ink costs. In the offset world, it's a lot less for the ink. The toner, you know exactly what your click charge is going to be, but when you do move over to the ProStream, it's, there's a little gray area there of exactly what each piece is going to cost. And we are doing, like Adam said, the high quality. We're not doing the trans promo work. It's full paint job. So that really has to be a consideration. Do you weigh the extra ink costs versus your overtime costs in production in another area? So that's stuff that we look at before we move it.
And Adam?
Yeah, we're very similar. We've got a budget hourly rate connected to every department. And really the whole exercise for us in inkjet is different because we're doing that brand marketing. Some people do widgets, we do things and stuff, we do all sorts of, but we're in that brand marketing space. And when you're in there, the real risk of inkjet, of high quality inkjet cost, all boils down to ink and ink coverage. So in the slide before, they were talking about the specs of the different categories that they were comparing for tipping point. Direct mail, I noticed, had the highest ink coverage, 190 to 220%. We live in the 220 to 300% coverage range almost all the time. And all of our cost centers are fully loaded cost centers as we go through the shop. So when we compare, rarely though do we compare, if ever, if a job is better litho or inkjet, because for us, if it's not variable, if it's not relevant, if it's not pushing the limits of what you can do in marketing, it's not a digital job. In our space, it's not a digital job.
So you're saying that if it's digital, you just goes to digital, and if it's static, you just, even if it's a short run, you will go to offset?
The beauty for us is we never experience short run. I don't know what that nightmare's like. I have a different nightmare. Yeah.
That's great. How about you, Angela?
We did test some stuff. Since we're kind of new to the whole inkjet market, we did pull some jobs intentionally off of the offset, and the ink costs were huge. So it's like, yeah, it's a static job where it's just going to have a little name and address on, an 8-page brochure. So it's staying offset from, we can't justify the ink charges. That's not to say if we run into production problems or a press goes down, then we have options to move it. But we did run 2 8-page, brochures or catalogs, if you will. One of them will never go on the ProStream again. The other one, maybe it will. It was close enough. It all depends on ink coverage. Right.
Maybe you don't know the details, but maybe a gut feeling of what percentage in your business you think that is offset versus digital. Is an 80-20, a 60-40? What will be your guess?
Volume-wise, I mean, we have, well, two Canon 10,000s that we were running 16 hours a day and we just couldn't keep up on. Plus, we had the Vario prints. So to say something was offset, or about 85% of what we do does go in the mail. So that makes it a variable job, but it's black variable. So, you know, it may be more cost effective. We've noticed on mailings over 100,000, it's probably, and it's only getting a black imprint, it should probably stay on offset. Unless you can justify maybe ganging with it, or if it's a time crunch and it has to get done right away, since you don't have the lag time with letting your shells dry before you imprint.
Right.
In our world, I think that's a little bit of a trick question. I would say that 90% of our business is got some form of variability or personalization, but a lot of what we do is black personalization. We do it inline on presses or inline in the letter shop. What I will share, though, is that this market is available, and it's available to be created if you're persistent at it. We are a $100 million shop. 18 months ago, John, is that right? 18 months ago, we had no color digital web. And we put one in, we put a second one in, and we've created real, true, relevant, variable work that fits it, probably to the tune of $10 million, without cannibalizing a single job that we had in our litho environment. Because again, we look at it for where it fits, right? And if it's litho, it doesn't fit anywhere but litho. If it's digital, it shouldn't fit anywhere but digital.
Right. That some customers or printers, they talk about, or they've been recommended to do separate P&Ls for digital versus offset. Is that something that makes sense in your business, or it really doesn't?
Yeah, I have a friend who told me all about one time. So we track all our departments, right? And I think it's prudent to track all your departments and know where you're doing well and where you're not. But I had a friend one time, very smart guy, who was telling me all of the extra work that I could do to save, you know, maybe a couple $1,000s a year in taxes. And so it's a litmus test, right? Do what's good for you. It depends on the scale of the operation, right? If you have a big enough presence, take the time to carve it out. If you don't do a lot of extra work just to think you're smarter.
Right. Before I move into more like strategic pricing questions, I wanna allow the audience to ask maybe 2 cost-related questions before we move into more, you know, pricing models and stuff like that. Anybody wants to anybody has a question?
Yeah, so when you calculate your budget hourly rates, do those tend to be more market-driven, or do they tend to be more internal, that's your cost?
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, ours are completely internal. Obviously, we're tested against the market. We hear every day how we didn't do, but for the most part, it's internal. We have to make money or we won't be around next year when it comes down to it.
Yeah, for our world, I'm a firm believer that costs are costs, and selling is completely different than costing. And I think there's an industry stigma from years and years and years ago that the market tells you what your costs are. I think today in the marketplace, your costs are your costs. The market tells you what you have the opportunity to sell it for. And your salesmanship and what you're selling, the value you're selling is what creates that difference between market pricing and not. And let's not be fooled. Every company I talk to, right, it's certainly my experience that we're all market driven to some degree. No matter how much we want to decommoditize the marketplace, there's too many printers and there's too much information out there. And so we're all commoditized to some extent. But we don't let the market decide what our costs are because they don't pay our bills.
So those rates aren't driving your estimates?
They're absolutely driving the estimates, right? It's cost plus margin, desired margin. And then selling says, okay, we're going to cut that margin. Can we make more margin? Always moving target every day.
Do you find that you have more pricing pressure regionally, or when you sell automotive
Our customer mix is a little different, right? Most printers that I know, even up to our size, are relatively regional. We are not. We have an incredibly low percentage of business coming out of Chicago and the Midwest. And so we don't ever really see regional pressure against our customers.
All right. If we move down to the pricing, which is related to value, right? You try to price based on value, and based on value that can be different from everybody else. So what is your pricing model? And you touch a little bit of that. And who price these jobs within your companies?
We have an estimating staff, obviously, and then, like I said, you could get more for it sometimes. Sometimes you know the customer and you can't get quite as much. I think it's teaching your client the value of what we're able to bring inkjet. A lot of them just, oh, that's great. We want it on the new equipment. Well, you know what? It's going to cost you twice. Well, we could, bring you a higher ROI. We have to prove that to them, how to do it. So it's speaking to the right people, and it's not just necessarily selling like you used to sell. You have to sell the whole, the marketing plan to them and make them understand the power that they have, to run an inkjet press like this.
In our world, pricing is done in estimating. It's structured by our executive team, right? We review it, we put it together. It's all based on hourly rates and cost. Because of the place that we sit, right? Everyone wants to tell you about how you can sell pure value, and it's really not about. But I really do believe that our market, on a grander scale, is commoditized. And I'm also a believer that if you offer a fair price today and you bring the value that you are going to bring, that you should bring, that's when you have 10-year and 20-year and 30-year customers. That's when you can evolve customers with you. So we've taken a whole bunch of customers on long-term journeys because we're never trying to maximize. I've got a very long-term strategy in our whole business environment. Some people who certainly have, some of the people on our sales staff have get the most out of it you can, because when it's over, it's over. I don't want them to ever be over. Relationships should be everlasting. I don't know how many people in the room experience what it's like to sign up a customer and run the first job for them. But if you think about that, and I'll share my opinion, that's the hardest job you'll ever do for them, ever. And I don't want new customers all the time. I do want new customers all the time. I don't want churn of customers, right? So one of our big focuses on cost, when we looked at the market and said, how do we get our costs down? And this is irrelevant to digital, but we said, oh, wow, industry average churn is 12 to 15%. For us, that's $12 to $15 million of business a year we'd have to replace. 5 years ago, when I wasn't focused on that, we noticed a churn. We were a smaller company at that point. We were probably about $60 million in revenue. But we had a churn of close to $12 million to $15 million at a $60 million company. That was what was costing us money, right? Replacing those customers in a shrinking business environment. And I think I'll go back and sometimes I come to these sessions and I listen to everybody and it's great and there's a lot of good content. The question was, when you walked in the door, what's the tipping point? And I don't know if we really talked about that at all. So I'll tell you from my perspective on the tipping point is there is no tipping point for us. If you're in small, short run, effective, where you can move business from one platform, do you want to cannibalize that platform, by the way? Because if there's a tipping point and you move it over from offset to digital, I hope you're either have some great new offset opportunity to run that equipment and still make money, or you're getting rid of it, right? You're retiring that equipment. But if you really want to embrace digital and digital the future, I don't think there's a tipping point. I don't think there's ever a tipping point. There's only a new opportunity for jobs that really fit digital. That's my belief. on the tipping point.
Yeah, and I agree with Adam on that. And as of like last year, there was only the ProStream available in the direct mail space to give you the quality that you needed. And now I understand the i300 is right behind it. So it's going to happen. And for the shorter runs, different substrates and stuff, it is there. But yes, on a daily basis, it may change and where you can, print something and make money, and get it out the door as quickly as you need it at the quality you need.
Right. Who is the print buyer for you guys, and what is the buying criteria? I mean, print buyer is procurement, is marketing, is designers, is an agency, and what is the buying criteria?
Yeah, for us, it's all of those. And what I will say is, if you do get into the digital world, we started in digital in 2003. We bought a Nexpress, and we drank the Kool-Aid. We loved it. It was amazing. They told you the one success story, and you thought, oh, man, this is awesome. We should do that for sure. And then we struggled, and we struggled, and we struggled. We never wanted, just like we don't today, we didn't want to take small jobs. We didn't want to take one-offs, and we didn't want to be a job shop in the digital environment because it wasn't how the company was built. And so today, our buyers are all of those people. But the one thing that has been consistent and now is ratcheted up and ratcheted up and ratcheted up is if you're going to be involved in data, you better be ready for the data security. And it's amazing the things that people come up with. There's stuff going on in the world all the time where these data breaches come, and then people feel like the world's going to end. My son is in 8th grade, and we just got an email yesterday, and people are on fire in the school system that a year ago, whoever we use for our grading system gave out our first name, last name, and his date of birth. It's going to happen in the market today, right? We all have to just be diligent, but that's the biggest hurdle that I've seen and that we experience every day in this world is, okay, great, you can print, but now you need a whole new specialty and you spend a whole lot of money on data security to be ready to print in this environment.
Oh, I have to second that. Yeah, we were back in the mailing industry, and our first foray into mailing 15 years ago was with the gaming industry, and I think they knew just about as much as we did. They had all the data, but they would email us their data way back when. So it has come a long way, but I would just say in the last year, things had ratcheted up, and we're getting questionnaires that we've never even heard of some of the things they're asking for. And like I said, we've been kind of in the secure data market for the last 15 years. So that is definitely something that, you can't jump into and expect to gain a large client because, sooner or later something is going to happen. So yeah, that's definitely, and it comes at a huge cost. And his company compared to mine, it's an enormous cost for us, but you have to jump that hurdle sooner or later, or you're going to get burned, you have to do it, and you have to have people that know data and IT and security.
Right, and you just touching on your unique selling points, right? Those are mainly your unique selling points. When it comes down to buying criteria, still, obviously, we are not going to deny that price is a factor. But is the customer allowing you to have a conversation about return on investment versus price where 50 is or 100 is cheaper than, I'm getting mixed up now with my numbers, but 100 is actually cheaper than 50 because of return on investment? Do your customers allow you to have that conversation, or are we still stuck on the pricing and specs of the job and somebody else is giving it to me the same or lower?
It depends who you're talking to.
Right. But in general, what is
somebody
the
in
general
the
feeling about that?
Somebody in the purchasing department handing out an RFP, you probably lose every time. But if you're able to get in front of the right people and speak to the marketing professionals, then you have a shot at showing them all the tools that you have in your toolbox and being able to prove return on their investment.
Right. And is the same for you, Adam?
Yeah, I think if you look at the spectrum of customers that are out there, my dream customer, this is being live streamed, I guess I should slow down a little. Normally it's just us in the room, right? Hi, customers out there who I love. The bigger the customer, the more likely there will be more eyes on what the transaction is doing. And anytime procurement wants to be involved, procurement wants it for less. So even when you've had the value discussion, our experience is we always get that knock on the door that says, yeah, I know that it's really good stuff and it's going to make us more money. But can we have a 3% rebate with that? Sure, we'd love to. That would be our grandest pleasure, right? Like, just, I mean, do you want my kid too? Because I can send him. He does Windows.
So what is the share, just getting a feeling, a generic feeling of what is the share of the times that you speak with procurement versus marketing, ROI, pure pricing battle? Is that just for me to get a feeling? Because some customers, they're telling me that it's shifting a lot to procurement, especially for the bigger jobs. And I don't know in your cases if it's a 50-50 or 80-20 or whatever, just to get a feeling for that.
It's a tough question.
Yeah,
It's hard to tell.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I'd have to really go back and analyze. We call it 50-50. We see just as many marketers or job owners, right? Real, true P&L owners come through the discussion process as we do pure procurement. And even when procurement goes and pre-plans a whole bunch of spend,
right.
It ends up going back into the marketer's hands. And then with any luck, it's not about raising the price necessarily. It really is about making sure for me that the product's effective, the price is effective for both of us, because we go back to churn, I can't afford to do just one job for you, no matter what my margin is. I need to do a job for you today, tomorrow, the next day, the next week. And so it's really a sensitive topic in today's world for me, right? When we aren't ensuring that our customers are getting a better return on investment for their piece, whether we're scrubbing mail files, right? We're eliminating waste. We're telling people, right? 10 years ago, I never would have thought that I'd be a guy raising the banner to say, don't print 10 million. Let's narrow that list to 5 million. Right? Why would I do that? We print. That's what we do. Well, I do that every day today because I don't want our customers to spend their budget today, because they're tighter than ever, on something that's not going to work for them, because then they're out of budget and it didn't work and they can't come back tomorrow. And if I don't have them tomorrow, I got to go find a new one. And guess what? That's not so easy for me. I don't know how you guys feel.
Right. So when we're talking about obviously a tipping point, and it's a good point, that for you guys it's just the variable is the tipping point, right? It's just the most valuable, and I start saying that too, so we're all in agreement. And then variable means personalization, personalization means profiling, and all that type of thing. And Angela, you talk about your salespeople that sometimes they need to get more into the marketing strategy. If we look in a very holistic way, marketing strategy of your customer that needs to decide who is my target and how I'm going to profile that target and what am I going to say to that target, when and how am I going to say, and how many times I'm going to say, how prepared your salespeople are into that process. They part of actually into the strategy. It might vary from customer to customer, but there is customers that allow you to get a deep dive into that type of conversation, or you just have to stay at the end when they decide, this is my profile, this is my data, and just do it for me.
No, definitely. We're talking to our clients. Our salespeople do understand. We've had customized portals for years, so they do understand data, different channels of marketing. We do the email marketing, along with it. So they do understand marketing overall, and I think you can't have just a print salesman nowadays to try to sell these programs. They have to know the marketing and the data, and maybe not everything about it, because we'll send in our experts on calls, so they don't need to know everything about postal optimization and different things, but they do need to know that, yes, versioning is available. They need to be able to speak that there is color variable out there and how it works, and whether you want to mail everything or email, along those lines. So they need to understand the basics of marketing. Like I said, we have experts in those fields then that would go out with them to make, or close the sales call.
And any comments there?
Yeah, same thing for us,
Same
right?
thing.
If everyone's dreaming about, and if you get to the utopia of having every person that you have on your team know everything that they need to know, please send me a note and tell me how. But we find team selling really, really, really effective. Small customer, big customer, medium customer. Team selling is really effective. And if you haven't tried it, I highly recommend giving thought to taking just an extra person out once in a while. And the conversion rates are astounding.
Right. A lot of things happen in the market in the last 20 years, not only in this market, but it's a lot of change in the world, right? And how has that changed in your criteria to hire a salesperson? Used to be like, everybody has a salesperson that comes with customers. That will be a great thing, right? It comes already with business, right? But do you take kind of like a risk in a way of maybe a customer outside of the printing industry, but that has that marketing experience, that can have and articulate a different conversation with the customer? How does that change when you hire sales reps?
Yeah, I think you're looking probably for marketing people that can sell. There's a difference. If someone can sell or not right off the bat, or had those conversations. But yeah, most of our hires now are coming from the marketing side versus the print side. Anybody, I feel, can learn print. It's not rocket science. Some people would like to say, think it is. But when it comes down to it, it's not. You need to understand the variability and the marketing behind what we can do today.
I'm stumped by selling. I really am. I'm stumped by salespeople. I'm sold by salespeople. It's a tough game, but it really comes down in our organization. We track, right? We've got a creative person who was a designer, who was in the photograph space, never sold a thing in their lives. They're one of our best salespeople today. We've got people who did this all of their lives, who sold tens of millions of dollars a year. They came to us. They don't sell a thing. And what I find to be the common string is really how relationship-based are they? How can they do in breaking down that wall, making a friend, creating trust? And I think that comes in all shapes and sizes. That's what I think I'm really getting at is, like Angela, I'm not sure that your background, you can acquire the knowledge that you need to acquire. You need to have a friend that will listen to you, that will trust you, that you can get past no. And so we'll try all sorts of different kind of salespeople. We haven't figured out the science behind it, quite frankly. We're not good at, we don't have a better than average rate at picking them for success. But we work hard to make them successful.
Right. So my last question, I'll allow a couple of questions here, but when we think about digital and we think about variable content, and we all agree on that one, and not every printer is as successful as you guys are and had those volumes on variable. Some printers, they're struggling more with the variable. What are the challenges you think? And the opportunities are clear. Personalization, it makes sense. We've been personalizing for hundreds of years before print. We just sell in a personal way. And that's applied to print too, and it's relevant and it's good. But what are the challenges? Because it's still, when you think about single digit market share of print volumes, digital versus offset, then it must be the majority of the print volumes are still static, even though relevance and personalization is the way to communicate. So it's a contradiction there, and you guys are successful while others aren't. So what are the challenges that you see because you've been successful at it?
Go ahead.
For us, we didn't get into the inkjet space any earlier than we did because the quality wasn't there for us. So I think you're really going to see the digital inkjet side take off,
right,
with the addition of the ProStream and the 300 plus.
Right.
Yeah, I think the quality is finally there for the people that do the direct mail. It was never there before. We've been
Right.
looking at inkjet for the last 10 years. When Canon called the i300 the Niagara, we were in the beginning of that, and the quality was never there for us to
Right.
make the move.
Which means cost, right? Because the toner had the quality, but didn't
Correct.
have the cost. Now, inkjet has the quality and the cost, and maybe you feel that for a little premium, your customers will go variable data versus not, when before offset versus toner, the gap was much bigger and it was harder to get in there.
Well, I think when people see the value of what you're producing with the color variable and the quality is there and it's not statement work, that they're going to start to latch on and think about how they can use that press
Right.
with the data that they already have. For years, they never even thought about personalizing something because they couldn't get the volume out because toner was too slow.
Right.
So I think now they're going
Right.
to start churning their wheels of what they're able to do.
Okay. Anything to add, Adam?
No, I just think for us and maybe for everybody, that the largest challenge still today is finding the time, the resources, and the opportunity for our customers to leverage the data they have and be able to prepare it for use properly, whether we're helping them do that, whether they're using an outside agency, an internal source. That's the biggest challenge to digital market for us, is how are we going to take the data that we have in a bucket and do something with it.
Right. And I agree with you 100%. I've been a lot with the marketeers, and I think that time is a big factor, as well as cost, of course. But time, we don't think that way, but they don't have time to do a good job with everything that involves into it. So hopefully that will change. Any questions? We have about 3-4 minutes.
For us, it did. I mean, this is our first foray into web, so I hope we're doing it right. But yeah, we just set it up as a web press, so it wasn't that difficult. The ink was the only thing that's still kind of, a mystery to us.
I would say I'm not a giant fan of MIS systems to begin with. Yeah. And if you like it, if I might have bought it, and then I'm not a big fan of MIS systems.
Any other questions? Well, thank you, Adam and Angela. Thank you very much.
Okay.